This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by Dave Coldwell. We're face to face. We're not on Zoom. How are you, Dave? Nice to see you.
I'm very good, thanks, mate. How's yourself?
Very good. Very, very good. Now I'm back doing what I love, covering boxing for 1 week and 1 week only. We are back being an online boxing reporter. So we're very, very happy with that, Dave. As are you, because today we had the announcement of Lerrone Richards, fighter that you trained, joining Matchroom Boxing. So congratulations to you and Lerrone.
Yeah, it's a great move for him. It's a big platform, Sky, Matchroom, the big push. And he's got bags of talent. He's got great personality, and so he's got the platform now. He's just got to go out there and deliver.
Now, before we go on to talk about the boxing, another thing that I'd like to congratulate you about. See, I'm in a very congratulatory mood. I'm in a very good mood, which is not common for people who know me very well in boxing. But anyway, we'll move on from that. Congratulations on the other venture that you've set up, a string of football academies. Let us know about what you've done and how to get involved and support.
So what it is Kicks Football Academies. Basically, they're for kids from 2 to 10 years old, but mainly 2 to 7 because anything over 7, you lose your grassroots football teams. It's about getting them involved, getting them active, and falling in love with the game and falling in love with sport, basically. A lot of fun, and as well as player development. And we've got some great coaches throughout the system. My little boy started off at Kicks when he was 4. He had no intention of playing football. Kept telling, I thought, he's never going to play football. And then one day he said, all right, I'll try it. We took him this one day. From then on, he's loved it. And fast forward, we've had some great memories through football with my son, and it all started off at Kicks. And with everything that's going off with kids right now, not everybody wants to be a boxer. It's not for everybody. But football's a big, it's got a big scope, and a lot of kids tend to kick football straight away. And I just want to put something that I can put my name to and put into practice that I have a passion for. I've got passion for boxing, I've got passion for football. So set up this academy, Kicks Hyde. It's going to be run by proper qualified coaches. It's not going to be me hands-on, although I am a grassroots coach. It's going to, it's got a great format. There's Kicks all the way around the country. Lots of different franchises. I've got Kicks Hyde. I'm going to look at getting out of Liverpool, and I'm going to come to London as well. So it's a venture that I'm excited about. I'm doing it with my son, for my son. That's going to be his little business, his little project for when he gets older. When we become, whatever he does in life, he's got that as well. There's so many memories that dads and lads and mums get involved. My wife's involved with Theo's football as well, and it's great family bonding time. And football, boxing, whatever it is, it gives kids an outlet. Some kids that haven't got no friends at school, not popular kids, they go along to a football to play for a football team or go to football training. They have a bunch of mates, and it's very important. So little things like that, they all add up.
That sounds great, and I very much would like to hear more, and I'll be following your new venture. Kind of staying with the same vein, something that we spoke about off camera was the government order today, where they made a lot of money available to a lot of spectator sports, and they seem to have forgot about boxing.
Do you know what? It pissed me off when I saw that. I'm looking through the list of sports, and I'm thinking, where's boxing? For what boxing does for not just kids of that are going through hard times, but what boxing does for this government in terms of keeping adults, keeping the youth, reducing crime. Wherever there's a successful boxing gym, a busy boxing gym, the kids aren't on the streets. Teens aren't on the streets causing problems. Even if they're not bad kids, intimidating, getting up to mischief. Things that might cause stress for older people that don't want these kids knocking them out on the streets. But then you've got the bad kids as well, the kids that have got no influences at home and have hard times at home. They go out and take it out on somebody walking down the street and start smashing somebody, breaking windows, robbing, and worse. Look at knife crime now. When these kids get old, by the boxing bug, and they have a coach that gives the time and spends all the time with them, and there's, whether it's amateur boxers, keep fitters, or professionals in that gym that put their arm around them, give them time, and they've got somebody to look up to. It's changing lives, you know. I wasn't a bad kid, but I had no childhood at home. I had no, you know, it wasn't a happy place for me. And that was my escape. Go to school, get bullied, go home, get beat up. Go to the boxing gym, I felt like I had friends. And to this day, my friends are all boxing involved, you know. That's been my life. So what I was saying to you off camera is, if I'd have never walked, do you know what? November the 20th, 1990, 30 years ago, it's tomorrow, that's when I first walked into a boxing gym. I've been boxing 30 years. So when I look at that, and I think if I hadn't walked into a boxing gym 30 years ago, my life would have been completely different. I couldn't speak to people. I started sweating when I had to speak to somebody that I didn't know. I'd start sweating and I was nervous. I was so introverted. I had no confidence whatsoever. And whether you make a career out of boxing or not, what it does for people's confidence and just for their lives, you know. And then if the government want to look at it and talk about stats, crime, obesity, you know, the 1 minute they're saying, oh, we have this issue with all these kids that are obese and showing all figures about this. Oh, there's boxing gyms there. You're not pumping any money into that, you know. And then if you want to take it on to the next level, small old boxers. You know, I manage a lot of small old boxers. And, you know, you promoters like your Carl Greaves, your Steffi Bulls, Errol Johnsons, you know, John Peggs, everybody like that, Steve Woods, they can't afford to put shows on with no crowds. So those fighters now, basically redundant. You know, they've given everything to this sport. They're taking, you know, forget taking blows to the head and putting their body through absolute physical pain. They've sacrificed time with their families. A lot of them will go to, you know, going to work, coming in at the end of the night, absolutely shattered, going to box. Some of them are full-time boxers, haven't got no other ways of earning any money. And the smaller boxers are on peanuts. So it's not like they've got massive savings that they can just fall back on while all this is going off, you know? And to think that there's no help for them and there's no help for the sport to help the sport get back onto its feet, it's disgusting. And like I said, boxing is a popular sport as well, you know? Obviously it's not a football, but it's a popular sport. You go on the street now, everybody talks about it, everybody knows about boxing. And it is such a fantastic outlet for people. And it's so frustrating. You know, I could babble on forever about it. I just think it's wrong. And I think these guys that are making these decisions are guys that have never set foot in a boxing gym. Or they might do a PR exercise once in a blue moon and go around, you know, in the nice suit and you know, talk posh and whatever. But they don't go in there and train. They don't know what it does for people's mental health. You know, people that are under the pressure at work and things like that, they come into the gym after, blow off some steam. It's fantastic, you know. But these are the guys that are making decisions. Don't do that kind of thing. They don't play football. They don't go into a boxing gym and train. You know, it's a completely different lifestyle that they live. So how can, you know, they've got no knowledge of what it does to the average normal person on the street, you know, and it just baffles me that these people are dictating our lives when they've got no sort of knowledge of what our lives are actually like.
It is very frustrating. I'd just like to, you know, echo what you've said there. It's quite jarring to speak to small hall boxers these days who have no idea where the next paycheck is coming from. I assume small hall boxers aren't entitled to furlough or anything like that. So it is a head scratcher and something that hopefully will be rectified sooner rather than later. If you are watching this, you're a small hall boxer, please hang in there. If you are struggling, please talk to somebody at this difficult time for everybody. Back to Lerrone Richards. Everybody tells me that he's one of the most naturally talented fighters that they've come across. You train him? Thoughts?
Yeah, he is very, very good. He's one of those guys that when he first come along into my gym, first few spars, and I'd look at him and I thought, it's one of these fighters that you want more from. You know, and this is why originally I was reluctant to, when I got asked to coach him, I'd said no. Because I'd watched his fights and I was like, he strikes me as being kind of like a lazy fighter. You know, he looks like he could do so much more, but he's just happy just to go through the motions and just do enough. And the first couple of spars, he was like that. And it's frustrating because he's the kind of guy that you're watching because you know what he can do. Because when he shows you little glimpses, it's like, they're like, wow, he's good. But give me more. And that's what I've been trying to do with him. That's what he started developing, where he's got gears and he's starting to give more, and he's starting to understand that yes, he's got the skills and he's got the talent and the ability, but he actually needs to use it, and he's getting it. You know, he's developing. He's 13 fights in, so he's very inexperienced, but talent-wise, he's fantastic. And you know, I said at a press conference, Ishmael Salas for me is one of the greatest coaches in the game. I look up to him. I think he's a great coach, and for him, when Lerrone went and spent some time in his gym, for him to turn around and say he's one of the best talents he's seen, and he rates him world level talent, that tells you something. You know, it's not just me talking crap. Ishmael Salas rates him, so that pricks your ears up. And then when I see what I see in the gym day in, day out, it's like I've said to him today, he's now got the platform. You know, he's got the big wheels of the bus, Sky Sports, Matchroom, boxing. He's got everything behind him now. All he's got to do there now is express himself and just go out there and just deliver. And then this kid can be a superstar.
It's interesting you would say that. That's probably one of the things that I would have picked up on Lerrone Richards watching him as a boxing fan is you do want more from him. It's almost as if, you know, when you can watch a YouTube video on 1.25 times playback. How do you get that out of a fighter? It's not just a case of shouting at him or telling him this or that.
It's that you've got to get him to understand that it's constant. A lot of boxing coaching isn't just about holding pads and bam, bam, or beasting. People say, "Oh, beast him today." This. It's not. A lot of it's to do with talking to him and getting their mind and getting them to understand and learning about the game. You know, a lot of it is the mental side. Why don't you give more? Why do you not throw that? When you see it, why don't you take it? And they've got to understand why they don't do things like that before they can then rectify it and then start doing it. Confidence is another thing. And just experience, you know, and repetitiveness. Keep doing it. And that just takes time. And that is time, experience, more fights. You know, he's nowhere near the finished article, but he's some talent. He is some talent.
He's vacated the British and Commonwealth super middleweight titles. What's the route going to be for him? He spoke about European titles. Is that where you're looking to push him next?
Whatever his management decide and Lerrone decide, I coach him. So, you know, whatever they want to do. I believe that's the route that we're thinking about. He's won the British, he's won the Commonwealth. He's just been talking. Actually, he loves the European title. It's a prestigious title to win. So he'd like to go for the European. He's not ready for Worlds and stuff like that yet. You know what I mean? He's still learning and he's still got development to go. So yeah, let's go that sort of route, and then good international names, fringe world class sort of names and faded names to build that experience, to pinch that experience off those fighters, and then you take your next assault into world level. But that's down the line.
We've heard it a couple of times today. I'm going to ask you about it. That Lerrone was once upon a time brought in to spar a certain Tony Bellew before he boxed Adonis Stevenson. Have you spoke to Tony about those sparring sessions all those years ago?
No, do you know what he did say that? Yes, he was a very good talent. Because when Lerrone came to me, that's when the conversation happened, and he said to me, he said he's very, very good, and he was pleased that it was at our gym. So yeah, Tony rates him.
Elsewhere in the Coldwell boxing stable, we were due to see Hobo Price this weekend. We haven't seen Hobo Price this weekend. Just talk to us a little bit about that. How is he, and when can we expect to see him back in the ring?
I'm gutted for him. Him and Jordan have worked so hard through the lockdown, through the whole process of lockdowns and the pandemic. They've been absolutely fantastic. The mentality has been brilliant. Everything. Hope is a very, very switched on lad. He's 20 years old, but it's like an old head on young shoulders. But he I don't want to say too much, but one of his family is not very well, and it's affected him. And on Tuesday, he come in the gym and he was having a little bit of move around. When you know your kids, I know him inside out, and I was like, is something the matter? Have we got a problem here? and yeah, he was upset. And so I had a chat with him. I said, listen, just knock it on the head. Don't worry about it. He wanted to fight. It was like, well, but when you're upset, when things are on your mind like that, especially a young head like that, somebody who kind of like is a strong sort of person for his younger brothers and things like that. You need protecting from yourself really, because don't get me wrong, you could have gone in there and performed and won, but if your mind's not on it and you're unhappy and something's stressing you and worrying you and you're going in to fight, your mind's not on it, in the worst possible way. You can be unfit and go into a fight, but you know what you got to do. You're like, okay, cool, right, drag it out, not a problem. You can have a bit of a niggle or a little, hand injury or a little elbow injury or a bit of a sore rib, or you can get through fights, especially at this sort of level. You can get through fights like that, but it just needs a bit of time out. So he was like, well, will I fight before the end of the year? And Eddie said to me, he says, do you want me to box, on one of the later shows? I said no. So he's going to have a bit of time out, and he's 20 years old. He's a young kid. He's a very, very good kid, and he's a very, very, he's such a talent. He's disciplined, he's dedicated. So it's been a shit year anyway, pandemic, because of what happened. He was supposed to have 7 fights in his first year. He's had 3. So missing out on this one, is it going to kill him? No, it's not. So he'll come back in January all fresh and recharged.
Well, sorry to hear that. That's the first I had heard of that. I do like to extend the best wishes to Hobo Price and his family, and hope that he's back in the ring at some time soon. Jordan Gill had a great win, and it's kind of a pattern of this year for a lot of fighters. Like, struggle to get out, get a good one under the belt, and then, through no fault of their own, of course, don't get that second opportunity. How is Jordan? When can we expect to see him back in the ring?
Very good. He would have been boxing in December, but he in that fight with Bellew, he did his hand, and it was bad. I mean, he's probably been punching again now for probably about 4 weeks from tapping. These last couple of weeks he started whacking full on again. So he'll be back out in January in a big fight. I'm hoping Eddie can deliver a big fight. We've said what we want and the route that we want to go down. Eddie's fully on board with that. So yeah, he's a great talent. He's 26 now. L plates are going off now. Ryan. Firstly, Jason Cunningham. That was his breakout fight. That was his, first one for Matchroom. Let's see what you can do. Good fight, great performance. Passed that one. Beat Ryan Doyle for the Commonwealth. Beaten Reece Bellotti in his comeback fight after a year out. The domestic sort of levels, he's performed really well and he's done. Now the problem is we've got a pandemic. So like I said to you about Hobo Price, should have 7 fights, had 3. Jordan, in the ideal world, will be having 4 and 5s. We're looking at 2s. We're looking at 2s and 3s if you're looking now with how this is going, and we don't know what it's going to be like next year. Everyone's banking on, next year will be back to normal. Well, it won't be back to normal. Normal's when you're having shows consecutively. We're still going to be in quite murky waters. So what you've got to do is you have to take leaps, and you can't stay at the same level. If you've had a couple of good wins at that level and you've got the talent and the ability, then you've kind of roll the dice a little bit and maybe take fights that are a little bit earlier than what you would normally do. But if you're not going to get those fights in, then you can't stay at that level, because then that's another year wasted, and then another year wasted, and so we're having to take jumps. And with him, because I've seen his abilities, I've took him out in America sparring, I've seen what he's done in the gyms, I've seen what he's done in fights, I know what he's capable of. I'm willing to roll the dice with him, and he needs to do that as well. He'll be 27 next. He's married. He needs to start making some money out of the game. He needs to start testing himself. He wants to test himself up through the levels. As I said, is normally in a world where if we were going to have guaranteed to have 4 fights next year, then we can maybe box at domestic level and then move up. But if we're using one of our slots to stay at the same level, Reece Mould, so it was made mandatory for the British title. The problem is, if he beats Reece Mould, is that a better win than Ryan Doyle? Is that a better win than Bellotti? No, because Reece Moles had one kid on his record that's got a winning record, and he's a prospect coming through. So he's shooting for Jordan, but Jordan needs to be shooting higher. And if we're only having 2 or 3 fights, I can't waste one of those slots that we can get on a matchroom show by staying at the same level. So the fight that he's going to take has to be a fight that's going to leapfrog him closer up, higher up the rankings, closer towards your end goal is a world title. So now, instead of being able to take so many steps to get to a world title shot, you've got to take less steps because you don't know how long you're going to be out of the ring for. You don't know, you don't know what you've got left. So that's the reason.
In its own way, it's sort of like stick or twist a little bit with the pandemic. Obviously, opportunities are limited, but not just jumping on any opportunity whenever you can because you need a fight, because you've been out of the ring.
Yeah.
It's a significant carrot to be dangled in front of fighters who potentially haven't boxed in 6 months, and I'm sure it makes your job as a manager a lot more complicated.
Yeah, it is. And so let's go back to Jordan. So Jordan had a year out. His comeback fight on Fight Camp. Great. But it's got to be a decent fight. Now, do you then say, oh, hang on a minute, no, he needs a comeback? Because normally you'd come back with a little 8-rounder, you know what I mean? You've been out of ring for a year, come back with an 8-rounder, then have a good step up. But it's a case of, when we're going to fight again, we need to make a bit of a statement to come back. Okay, let's do Reece Bellotti instead of which was that, we spoke about was something like a Sean Davis. Well, Reece Bellotti is a better win. It's a 50-50 fight I was talking about. A lot of people thought Jordan would get banged out. Went out, put on a great performance against Reece Bellotti, and now we can move up. Now there's no point in staying there. We have to twist again, and we kind of got to do that. Real fights make real fighters at the end of the day. And if you have the talent and the ability, which is what Jordan's got, you just need that experience going with you. But the experience of just fighting guys that you're expected to beat, you don't improve on as much as the experience of guys that are going to give you problems, and you're going to have to work hard to beat them. Do you know what I mean? And if you get beat, you're still going to learn. You're still going to learn from it. You can improve you as a fighter anyway. But obviously, the end game is to beat them. But to have to grow as a fighter during them 12 rounds, 10 rounds, whatever it is, in order to beat them, that was what makes you a better fighter.
Okay, we will talk about this weekend's card tomorrow after the weigh-in, but before I let you go, one thing that I would like your opinion on. One person who is not here this week, who was due to be here, Mr. Dave Allen, has recently retired from professional boxing. I like to think of you as somebody who has quite a level head in the sport, considering it's boxing and most people are crazy. What did you think of Dave's announcement of his retirement?
So pleased for him. Do you know what? He's given. You can't say he hasn't given himself to boxing. Right? I know he said in the past that he's not trained for fights and stuff like that. I get that. But when he gets in that ring, regardless of whether he's fit or he's not fit, whether he's prepared properly or not, he's given everything. And he's putting his health, in his brain, everything, his life, in the line of fire for our entertainment. We're all like, oh, he's tough, he's a tough bastard. Yeah, but it's no good being a tough bastard and then blowing bubbles, And I didn't like what happened with Price, when he fought Price. I thought, done. That's an accident waiting to happen. And then I spoke to him here in the bubble. I don't know if it was last week before. Yeah. And he mentioned about when he sparred Usyk, but he didn't say nothing else, and I didn't know he was retiring anything. But I was like, fucking hell, because he's tough. I've seen him spar. I've seen him spar with Richard Towers. I've seen him spar with Bellew, and I've seen him getting whacked and whacked, and he just keeps on coming forward. It's like, fucking hell. It only can last for so long. And then I saw his post when he put the video up and what he said in the post, and I was like, thank God you've seen the light, because a lot of times fighters don't admit it themselves. A lot of times, everybody else was around them saying, you need to pack up now. But they're like, no, I still feel good. No, I can still earn this money. The fact that he's took that decision upon himself and said, you know what, nah, I don't want to get punched anymore. And fair play to him, all respect him, well for him. I'm so pleased he's got out of the game with a couple of properties, so he's got something to show for his career. A lot of fighters get out of the game, they've got nothing to show for it. So I'm so pleased for him that he's got that. He's a great character. He's funny, and you know what? I had Amy Timberlake boxing on the undercard. And Amy said to me as well, she said, because she's very introverted and quiet, Dave Allen took her under her wing and made sure she was all right and looked after her and stuff like that. And, that just shows you what he's like. He's a nice kid. So I wish him all the best in whatever he's doing. I don't know if he's going to coach or whatever. I don't know. But I wish him all the best going forward.
And another product of a certain Ingle gym. Another man who walked into the Ingle gym, a very shy, retiring man, and had his life changed by Brendan Ingle. So that rounds off the interview quite nicely from what we were talking about at the start about boxing, giving people a chance. Dave Coldwell, always a pleasure. Really happy to be doing this face-to-face. I'll be gutted when we have to catch up next time on Zoom, but always a pleasure catching up with you. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, nice one.
Will do.